Gregory Rousseau is what you get when you create a defensive end on Madden. Like, he's just a freak of nature, and there is no way an athlete like this should be able to do the things that he does. He has the speed, strength, and size to play anywhere on the defensive line. He could also stand up, and he always finds his way to the quarterback. And the even crazier thing about Gregory Rousseau is he hasn't had as nearly as many snaps as other guys who are projected to be drafted, and he was the ACC Breakout Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year with 15.5 sacks, 59 tackles, 2 forced fumbles in just 14 games, coming second behind Chase Young in the nation for sacks. So in this video, we're going to take a look at Greg Rousseau and why I think he may be the best defensive end in this year's upcoming 2021 NFL Draft. When you're looking at the film, one of the first things that you notice about Greg Rousseau is his size. He's not the biggest when it comes to bulk, but he's 6'7", and he's every bit of 6'7". He looks like a power forward out there playing defensive line, standing up before the snap. Sometimes he's taller than most offensive linemen that he's going against, and his wingspan is just incredible. He uses it to his full advantage. He uses those long legs, which can be deceiving when it comes to his speed. He's super fast, picking up a lot of ground on every step. But I think the best thing about Rousseau is his length. He's able to create separation between him and the lineman while also keeping his eyes on the quarterback. A lot of times we see him making plays where the quarterback either steps up in the pocket or steps out or try to get out of the pocket, and Rousseau is able to retrace, get rid of the lineman, throw him away, and make the sack, which is what you love to see in a pass rusher. But he's also able to run by those guys. There's a few times you watch it and a tight end tries to block this guy. In the league, maybe some tight ends may be able to handle him, but in college right now, there's not too many tight ends that's going to be able to block Greg Rousseau, mainly because of his strength and his length. If you're a quarterback sitting in the pocket, you do not want to hold that ball too long with a guy like Rousseau running at you with that speed and that size. He's so versatile. He can play multiple positions on the defensive line. When you look at him at Miami last year, they put him inside at 3 technique, lined up over the center. He was also out at end. He stood up sometimes at the outside linebacker position. He ran stunts. He did it all. And that's what you want to see in the defensive end. With the game changing the way it is with quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, you want defensive ends that can match the athleticism of those quarterbacks, those game-changing quarterbacks, those impact players. This takes a lot of pressure off of your linebackers, your secondary, and the rest of your defensive line. It just makes your team overall better when you get a guy like Greg Rousseau. Now, although he finished with 15.5 sacks last year, 2 forced fumbles, and 59 tackles, like we said earlier, there's always room for improvement for anyone, and there's no exception for Greg Rousseau. Now, at 6'7", of course, one of his cons are going to be pad level. You've heard it since Pee Wee football that the lowest man wins in football. That is a universal rule that everyone knows whenever you play. That's one of the first things you learn when you play football. Greg Rousseau is 6'7", though, so we're going to give him a little bit of a pass, but there are still improvements that he can make with his pad level. We see sometimes he pops straight up, which gives the offensive lineman his chest. We talked about his length earlier, and that length is great, but he won't get the chance to use it as much if he gives up his chest so quickly to offensive linemen, especially a good offensive line. So that's something I love to see him get better at in this upcoming season as he gets closer to the draft. All right, another con that I talked about a little bit ago, teams are starting to use their running backs and tight ends to help out the tackle, to chip Rousseau, to double team him, slow him down a little bit. One thing that Rousseau has to do when his motor doesn't allow him to beat both of those guys is have some counter moves. I think once he gets some consistent counter moves and great pass rush moves all together, and he's not just depending on his natural athletic ability to get to the quarterback, I think he's going to be even more scarier than he is now. I love to see him get a nice club rip, swim, spin, just a plethora of moves where he can just go into his bag whenever different obstacles are thrown at him. Because when you're a great player, when you get to the ball on a consistent basis, offensive coordinators are going to to figure out a way to either neutralize you or slow you down. And so far, double teaming him with running backs and tight ends have been slowing him down in certain situations, especially when he pops up with that high pad level like we spoke about just a while ago. So those are two things that I would love to see him get better at. I also like to see Miami use him a little bit more standing up. I think that's going to help him transition into the league. I don't think he'll be a consistent stand-up player in the league. I think he will be a solid defensive end, but just for him to show that athleticism, teams, like I said, the game has changed a lot. Quarterbacks are getting more athletic, receivers, everybody's more athletic. So when you can put those same kind of athletes on the defensive side of the ball, I think it gives your team just that much better of a chance of winning and being successful. And I think Rousseau is a guy that has the ability to do a lot of different things. I just think that once he gets the small things down, like I said, those counter moves, the pad level, and put that into the natural ability that he already has, there's no limit to this guy. I think he's going to be an all-pro player. I love to watch him play, and I'm excited to see what he does this year coming back off of their breakout season, because a lot of us have him picked as one of the top 5 players to go. So we're excited to see how he dominates the ACC again this year and whether or not he can keep that level of play up.